That's
I'm
perfect.
sorry, we're at 7 o'clock and we have to...
How about a quick question or two?
No, go ahead. You had your hand up for some time.
May I respectfully point out that the map of the round city of Baghdad is the wrong one, in your book.
Oh, because I used, what's his name, Cresswell's.
Oh, well, he's out of date.
He's out of date, okay.
And there have been many revisions.
There
You
is
could actually
Lasner's one is the better one, right?
No, you could look up Seeker's book on Baghdad in the Islamic Civilization. And I have got a paper of 50 pages with all the maps in there,
And
including in 88.
And the permission is okay, because one of the problems I had, sometimes I had to go with older stuff, because I have 150 images in this book.
You asked.
It took me 1 year to get the permissions. By the end, I was ready to slip my
I think
wrist, you
Seeker
know.
would give you the permission by email.
Okay?
Thank
I
you
would
very
love it.
much. Thank you, Professor.
I really...
We have to be brief
yes,
because...
I have to say something, because I have been accused of certain things, which, you know...
Not so much
First
good
of all,
promotion.
I'm very grateful. Thank you very much.
I'm very
for
grateful
your
to
time.
you, actually.
It's good to know, to see good feedback, and it's always also to have not only positive feedback, it's important to know the negative feedback. I have been receiving a lot of flack from various quarters, so it's good to have some positive, which is good. But I must say something.
Okay.
It is not the agenda, not even the subtle agenda of 1,000 Inventions is to promote Islam.
But it's my agenda. I like that agenda
well,
because
that's your
when
agenda.
You teach,
That's
look,
your,
when
my
you
dear.
teach in
Sorry,
when you teach in
Yeah,
America
but
and you deal with so much
here.
anti-Islamic sentiment, where is the role?
I really must very honestly and transparently announce that when we originally started, and we still continue, it's a non-political, non-religious attempt to bring out the truth. And if there are agendas, yes, and one of them is to inspire people about science, and also to get them to be interested in the intercultural dynamics in the world. And now it may, of course, become political. It be used by politicians. It can be used by religious people. It can be used by extremists also. I have recently heard that some of the extremists are also. We're not. The agenda here really is what it says. Okay, you know, it can be used to spell Islamophobia or anything. And I'm not very happy about this, frankly. I don't think it should be used in this way. I think it should be neutral. And I think then it will not lose its authenticity. Because, you know, if you are seen to be defending Islam out of this, 80% of its authenticity is gone, and neutrality, because you'd say that, wouldn't you? And the name also is Al-Hassani. It's the worst enemy of that, is my name. I wish it was actually, take it off. In fact, I'm already negotiating with National Geographic to take the name away and let them...
May I respond to this? May I respond to this?
Sorry.
Thank you very much for the clarification. That's very important.
Here I am.
A very brief answer, and
I'm
then
going
I have
to give a
another
brief
very
answer.
brief question.
Here is someone. Do you want me to use both the mics here? Is this one working?
Yeah, it's okay.
The other one.
I want to be very clear here. So you have someone with the name Karen Pinto, right? So I cannot be seen. They're not seeing. So maybe I can see your issue that you would not want Al-Hassani to be putting a positive necessarily, you know. But in my case, I feel like, especially out in the West, out in the red state, I'm in the bushes. And, you know, whether I want to be or not, I am someone who is trying to bring some light to the darkness. I'm not trying to make them into Muslims. I'm not trying to convert them. But I think it's important, and the technology provides some kind of alternative. Because if not, everything comes down to jihad. I mean, how many students of mine want to write a paper on jihad? And I want to pull every last hair of mine out, you know. Because this is the narrative. So all I'm saying to you is not that I'm trying to promote Islam, but I'm trying to promote a different narrative, an alternative narrative. I am trying to do that because this other narrative that comes from the news that brings all the negativity, that's keeping all Trump is putting one executive order after another because of the alternative narrative. We need solutions to it. And the places we need solutions to it is especially in red states.
Excellent. Thank you.
So I see where you're coming from, but do you see where I'm coming from?
Thank you very much. I know we could go on because it's absolutely fascinating. I'm sorry we won't be able to handle that
Next
question that you had. I would like to turn, I know the managing director, Sally, will obviously want to say a word, but before I do that, we all want to thank unfortunately, Segamani had to leave, the Al-Furqan and the Foundation for Science, Technology, and Civilization. I'm getting tired too. You were absolutely admirable, and because she's managed to overcome the jet lag admirably. Well, thank you very much for this splendid event. I hope that the conversation is only beginning. And one thing that is very important, as you know, we have one speaker who was unable to attend for serious reasons. What would be very useful for the managing director is if you would kindly send him any suggestion or recommendation. So if you have time in the next few days, please do send an email with your comments. Thank you once again.
Well, first of all, I hope you don't hate me for taking a few more minutes. I mean, it has been an epic day, a very long day, but very exciting, I guess. Very fascinating day, at least that's what I felt throughout the day. If it wasn't for my duty just to thank those who actually deserve thanks for such an event today, I wouldn't have spoiled this event today by my very poor words at the very end. After all these interesting lectures, this fascinating actually journey throughout the history of science. First of all, I would like to mention 2 points, if you let me, or 3. I don't know how many there are now. I'm quite lost. Trying to be quick, probably I'll take longer than needed. What we have done today is just triggering few ideas. The idea and the aim was that we bring together 2 perspectives. The perspective of Al-Furqan, as it was framed throughout the day, being a foundation with quite a long tradition now of shedding light to a tremendous heritage that hasn't been studied enough. So what Al-Furqan is doing is a mining foundation, trying to shed light to such an vast heritage around the world that, according to the World Survey, is estimated from 3 to 5 million. Obviously, such numbers is very difficult to be so accurate in terms of copies spread around the world. When we look at that, that was the first step that Al-Furqan did, and it was mentioned, started the cataloging process. We are still doing that. Many other foundations are working in that, and a lot to be done. It needs actually hundreds of foundations to do the same job so that we could reach to a point when we would know what manuscripts are in what place. And I think one of the outcomes of this symposium today was that actually we are lacking a lot of information in few fields. We don't know whether there is a manuscript on this topic, on that subject, because many of the manuscripts haven't been identified. Then we come to the third step, which is the editing, and that's where I wanted to stop for a few minutes. So basically the foundation, from its inception and with a view of the board members, so it was the idea of surveying, the idea of cataloging. So after the surveying, they knew where the Islamic manuscripts are. Then they started with the most important collections to catalog, and we are doing that continuously. We have managed to catalog so far around 75,000 manuscripts. Obviously, it's a very complicated work. It's a very long process work. Hence, we reached a point when we say to ourselves, we'll continue, but we need the help of the others. So the way we are doing it now is that we have created an online database, which I do kindly ask each of you to fish through and to look at it and probably spread the word about it. We have managed to include around 89,000 manuscripts so far, and now we are calling the other institutions to cooperate, either to host their data or to interlink to their data. So in that case, ultimately, we have let's say, a gateway to the Islamic manuscripts or to the Islamic heritage, which is, as was mentioned many times, is a shared human heritage. Then after identifying such manuscripts, then the foundation started and moved and still is continuing very strongly in editing or highlighting few of the most important manuscripts and trying to actually bring them to life. And the only way to do that is, first of all, you need to know where they are, you need to describe them, and the third step ultimately is that such texts need to be critically edited, which is a very other long process, especially when we have in mind that not so many people do go into that field, especially with the new generation. So what this symposium is trying really to do is to encourage the new generation to look into that vast knowledge. And the foundation has identified 4 main spheres, areas where it wants to contribute more, and that's due to the fact that in few other areas a lot of work has been done. And like hadith, like tafsir, so a lot of efforts has been spent there. What we are lacking really, and the biggest deficit that we see nowadays, are the manuscripts on science, or what we call them exact sciences. Hence, the foundation has done a modest job, modest work so far. As was mentioned by Professor Ihsanullah last night, and Sharaf as well, around 20 volumes has been published so far. And we look forward actually to find even more such manuscripts, to identify such important and rare manuscripts, and actually to commission someone to take over the editing of such manuscripts. And here is the challenge, and here is my call really for all the professors tonight to help us in reaching such people that are interested and are capable, above all, to take over such important projects. So first of all, we would identify some of the most important manuscripts that haven't been edited so far, probably, haven't been looked at, and then choose the right people who could undertake such projects. And ultimately, as I said, bringing as much manuscripts in that gateway so that we make it much easier for the... I'm sure that Professor Ihsanullah mentioned that 20-odd thousand manuscripts. So any researcher, the first challenge that they face is they don't know where the copies are, in which library. In the best cases, they have to travel to that library, and let it alone their disappointment if they don't find that manuscript. They go all the way, they pay the ticket and so on, and they find that actually the manuscript has moved around. So that's what we are trying to do, is to make it possible for them so that before they travel, they make sure that actually this manuscript is here, the other copy is there, so that would ease the way. Yes, the database for the moment is only probably biobibliographical database, but we are trying in the near future. As you know, the world of manuscripts is over, people that hold and own them are overprotective, so it's very difficult to convince them to get the images. But ultimately, in the near future, we look such biobibliographical data to be supported by images of manuscripts, and hence the editing as well. And the other part of the story is really we spread the word tonight for the new generations, to take over of and to take it further. Actually, such results, such texts that have been catalogued and edited, to take them further and work them out and bring them into different methodical and didactical ways possible that would actually influence and give the real picture and image of this heritage, which brings people together and would help a lot in terms of actually understanding the flow and how the human civilization was collateral effort and ended up with what we see today, and how different people of faiths and different religions, different ethnicities work together in addition for the betterment of the life. And that should be, and it is, our message. The second part of the story of this symposia was the cooperation with the FSTC that we have been delighted with, since FSTC is taking these minds and trying to make them look good and offering and presenting them to the wider public arena. And I think they have managed to do that very well. Without such cooperation, such efforts, we won't reach anywhere. Very few words have been mentioned throughout the symposia that, yes, we still are probably talking to each other, but I would say that there are some glimpses here and there that there are a lot of efforts to bring this out to the wider public. And let's hope that this symposia will be probably very small part in those efforts. Obviously, you saw probably a limited number of people tonight, but this message will be spread because the lectures have been recorded and they will be on YouTube. Usually we have 50 or 60 people attending, but usually then after that, for years, we have thousands of viewers that haven't had the chance to see the conference. They will see the outcome of the conference, and hence these messages will be heard. And the second part of the story is that the proceedings of the conference will be printed out, will be translated into Arabic as well, which means that they will reach other academics and so on. Our main aim is that we reach a point when talking about heritage doesn't remain anymore within the symposium and conferences halls, but actually it should become something within the curriculum in the schools. And that's part of the efforts that we are trying as Al-Furqan in terms of editing manuscripts, in terms of the codicology studies and so on, and as FSTC is doing in terms of adding to the curriculum the Muslim civilization efforts or the 1001 inventions efforts and so on. Without taking more from your time, I think it has been said all. Probably I spoiled it. I hope not. Just wanted to thank wholeheartedly. There are no words could describe how appreciative and how delighted we have been to have such a high caliber of scholars within a squeezed day. I know that the hardest thing has been that I really have to apologize from our dear professors to constrain them within 20 minutes when they've spent probably 10 folds of that in years, not in minutes, to reach to the stage where they are. God bless them. We wish them a long life. We wish them a lot of successes, a lot of new discoveries, new outcomes. And I would like also to thank our respected guests and attendees. Thank you so much for being so patient. It has been a long day. I realize that. Obviously, as you know, it's London. It's very challenging to have a 2 days conference. The next day you would have seen everyone asleep, and then luckily we managed to squeeze it within a day. And last but not least, a huge thank you to the Al-Furqan team for the hard work and efforts done. So well done. Thank you so much. And as well to the FSTC team on the other side that supported and helped us to bring this symposium in this shape as it was. And I would like to apologize once again for any shortcomings from our side. And I wish you a pleasant stay. And I do hope that we'll meet soon in other academic initiatives, hopefully. Thank you so much. And have a good night. Thank you.